welcome to the Dueling Sourcers show. My name is Stacy Broadwell. I will be your host for today's show. And joining us, we have two Dueling Sourcers. We have Judson Lancina and we have Julia Adler. So Julia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I am a sourcer at Wayne Technologies. I have been remote for most of my career, but we are based in the Texas state and we source actually globally. And I came from IQ Talent Partners before there, which is how I know Judson Lancina, who was my practice leader at the time. So I have been in sourcing for 4 years now, and also am volunteering with marketing on ATAP and am a staff writer for Recruiting Daily.
Really cool, knowing all the great hot spots. We love Mike Cohen. Batman is in the chat there. He gave a little shout out. Win, 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 he says. And this is not a win-win-win. This is a collaborative effort between two people showing how to source. So how about you, Judson? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been working in recruiting and sourcing for about 8 years now, which is crazy. I'm getting old. And worked with Julia in the past, and I love sourcing and recruiting because I get to learn so much about all the crazy jobs that people have in this world, and get to absorb a lot of information and synthesize that into searches and solve puzzles, and so that's the part that I really enjoy. But yeah, I work at IQ Talent Partners, and glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting show. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. So what are we going to source for today?
We're going to source for a marketing analytics position. So this is something that I think a lot of people overlook about the marketing function, which is the data-driven side of it. When you think marketing, you kind of think creative marketing and visual stuff and storytelling and copywriting, but this is really about marketing performance and data-driven marketing. So shed some light on that for you.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to step out. I'll be monitoring the chat and I'll turn it over to you guys.
Cool. Yeah, so Julia, thanks for recommending this position. I think it's a good choice. I was curious though. I know you're working with Wayne. Is this a position that you guys are working on?
So no, this is not a position that we're working on right now. We have a couple different tech roles going on, some executive searches as well. But just when he mentioned you wanted to go down maybe the marketing or UI UX path, I thought, okay, let's take something creative and see how it can also be analytical. So just heading down that road.
Yeah, cool. So I will share my screen and we'll dive into this job description. My screen here, and okay, so we've got a very interesting title here, which I think is perhaps is a fabrication of this hiring manager or this HR person that wrote this. This word incrementality. I'm not even sure that is a word, but we'll find out, and we'll look for people with that title. But I think what we're going to do is find that the right titles are something a bit more common. So this is a senior analyst marketing and incrementality analytics position at Expedia. We all know Expedia, the big travel booking website. And as I look through here, the method that I use to interpret job descriptions and start searching is what I like to call the vomit method. And it's great because you can apply this method to any position in any industry. And what it allows you to do is understand and translate a role, as well as develop a rubric for interpreting the candidates that you might see. So we definitely want to have that rubric of must-haves versus nice-to-have qualities. And we're going to use that same rubric when we look at every profile and use that logic to rank candidates against each other and choose the best fits. It also, the last thing it can allow you to do is build a search with Boolean from that rubric. So I'll get started with this vomit method, as I call it. And the reason it's called that is because what we do is just read through the job description or skim through the job description and pull out the most common concepts, words, phrases, keywords, things that are ultimately going to be keywords for our search. And we want to pull those out and organize them in a way that makes sense to us. So as I look through here, we've got this top part, which is just basically about Expedia. And then we get into the meat of the role here. And all I'm going to do is pull quickly out some words onto a blank sheet of paper. And I'm going to kind of organize them according to their likeness as I write them down. And so I call it the vomit method because you're literally just writing a bunch of the words down that you see. And so I'll start with a blank page here, and we've got SQL. I see R jumping out here. Maybe I can make this a bit bigger. I see the word programming. I see geo-matching, so I've never heard of that before, but maybe that'll be relevant. And then analytics, of course, is a big word. And then I see marketing mix modeling. That definitely sounds like something very contextual to this function, this role. So we're going to really dive into that one. And I see the word data, so we'll get data in there. Let's see. I see the word media, impact of media, measuring the impact of media. So what I'm getting so far is that this is really about figuring out how marketing activities are impacting the business. And I think that boils down to basically analyzing the performance of your marketing spend. So you spend money on advertising, you spend money to do various marketing activities, and how are those activities performing? So that's what this role is all about. Definitely not a creative role. We see the background in quantitative subject area. So STEM background / degree. I see statistical along with that. See Python here listed as a bonus. So I see the first thing that's listed as a nice to have is Python. And then moving along here, a bunch of soft skills. So whenever you see soft skills like thrive in a fast-paced environment, communication, passion, blah, 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 all that stuff, you're not really going to search for because these are not hard skills that you can translate into keywords on a profile. I mean, you could, but I think that everybody that has a profile or a resume somewhere is going to say that they're a great communicator, that they blah, blah, blah. So it's not really useful for a strategic search. And I see acquisition channels as another bonus concept. So we'll kind of separate the nice to haves here. So I see acquisition channels. And then we've got more about Expedia down here, and that'll be good. Yeah, so we've done our vomit, we've got our initial list of keywords, and now what I want to do is just kind of group these together into families. So we want to have families of keywords that we can then string together into a Boolean string and execute in Google or LinkedIn or someplace like that. So looking down the list, SQL and R are similar. They are data manipulation tools. R is a programming language. Programming probably can go along with that as well. And then geo-matching we're going to put by itself. Analytics is important. We're going to put that by itself for now. We'll put data up with analytics because that's what you analyze is data. And we've got marketing mix modeling here, which we're not super familiar with yet. But then media, and then we've got our STEM background, statistical. So I'm going to put statistical up here with, I'm actually going to leave it with STEM. Cool. So we've got our words that we pulled from the job description, and now we can start to build some Boolean strings. So underneath each family of keywords, I can start to build my Boolean string, because what I want to do is build a search that requires one variable or one aspect of each keyword family. So I definitely want SQL or R or programming, or maybe I want all three. But we're just going to combine the variables within these families with Boolean to create a search. So you just start typing out your Boolean string underneath your keyword family, SQL or R or programming. And I believe it said SQL and R are very important for this role. So we're just going to change that to an and then geo matching, we're going to have to look that one up, maybe come up with some other words. Let's do that now. So whenever I find a word that I'm not super familiar with, I'll just like Google it, geo matching, and product platform, blah, blah, blah. So geomatics, hydrography. So I'm not seeing anything that's like jumping out as like a marketing reference here, except machine guidance. Don't think that's what we're talking about. Don't really know what machine guidance is. Something about Internet of Things and drones. So let's leave geomatching behind. Let's look up this marketing mix modeling. And I believe I done that here. Yeah. So I love Wikipedia. It's great. There's articles on just about anything. And if I'm not familiar with it, I'll just go to Wikipedia, check out marketing mix modeling. And then I just look to the other terms that are linked and maybe have their own pages. So these are probably the main concepts within marketing mix modeling. So statistical analysis. So we've already got statistical, we've got analytics, multivariate regressions. We could add that if we wanted. We could probably add that to our STEM family of keywords, right? Regressions, multivariate, these are just like math concepts. Time series. So I'm not sure how relevant these will be, but it's always great to have more keywords than you need, more concepts that you're becoming familiar with as you look at profiles, because you might see that on a profile and recognize, oh yeah, that that indicates that this person knows marketing mix modeling. And then I see this other phrase here, also referred to as attribution modeling. So I'm definitely gonna put attribution modeling there. Cool. And so without going through the whole thing, hopefully you get the idea. You can just build a Boolean string for each family, and then you're just going to combine the families of keywords together at the end. And you can do stuff like this too. When you have a word like analytics, go ahead and include other forms of the word: analysis, analyze, analyzed. You could include the past tense and verb forms of the word, and we have data there. And then marketing mix modeling. So we have MMM or marketing mix. I'll just put marketing mix, or attribution modeling, and so on and so forth. Cool. So we've got our Boolean strings going. We've got also a rubric that we want to develop. So I went ahead and did that ahead of time here. So bring it up to the top. Okay. So I see our rubric as being SQL, our marketing, of course, and then media and advertising, referring to like how you spend money on media and advertising. And then we've got the analytics, testing, modeling, statistical, blah, 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 set of keywords to really drive home the data analytics part, the data-driven marketing part. So I see this as our rubric for all candidates. All candidates have to have these things. And then we have a nice to have section as well. So Python is a bonus, and then knowledge of acquisition channels is a bonus. And then I went ahead and made the decision that a STEM degree would be a bonus, even though it's not called out in the job description. So using these rubrics, you can just easily apply that to each profile you view and rank each person. If they're a top candidate, they'll have all of these things, or at least one of the nice to haves. And then I like to say that the rest of the candidates are just general population. So 80% of my candidates will meet this, meet all the requirements, or actually 100% will meet all the requirements. And then only 20% will have all the requirements and these nice to have things. So, that's a snapshot of the vomit method, some Boolean, and the rubric. And then I wanted to point out a couple other cool tools. So talked about Wikipedia and its value there, generating more keywords. There's also this cool thing called Glossary Tech. So glossarytech.com, it's a glossary of tech terms. So I typed in time series analysis, and I get a nice definition. And I could probably pull some more keywords from this, reincorporate into my vomit, my Boolean, and then have a more accurate search. Or maybe I'm wondering what R programming is all about. So I could type in R, let's see, it's R. But glossarytech.com, it's great. There's an extension that you can use when you're viewing a LinkedIn profile, and it will actually highlight all of the words that are related to a given tech concept. So for example, if Ruby frameworks matter to us, the extension would highlight all the words that are relevant for that concept, which is super helpful. This is free. And then another thing I like to do is do word clouds. So if I'm analyzing my job description and I really want to make sure that I'm not missing any major keywords to incorporate into my search, what I can do is go to a website like wordclouds.com. There's others too, but these are free. And I have an option to paste a job description And so I went ahead and did that, and then you run the word cloud generator, and you get something like this. And I can make it bigger here. Try to make it bigger. And yeah, you can see the larger the word is, the more often it appears in the job description. And the more often it appears in the job description, the more likely it is that you want to search for that word. So obviously we get Expedia here, which is the biggest word, but other words like analytics, data, I see travel, which we could look for other travel companies. I see SQL, I see marketing, and actually this one isn't that helpful. So maybe this job description isn't that great, but yeah, it looks like, you know, we've covered all the basics here with our keywords. Yeah, so I will, Julia, I think maybe you'd like to show us how to use a particular tool to start searching for people.
Yeah. So I typically also take the route of starting by really diving in and looking at the job description. So Judson and I tend to start at a pretty similar place, just to understand the role, see what we can glean from that. And then from there, a lot of times my strategy tends to be taking a look at people who are at the company who are currently in these roles. So I took the time to go ahead and pull up a couple people who are currently working in this role. And then from there, what I'll do is take a look at their LinkedIn and see if I can see any specific keywords that they might mention in their current job. And in their past jobs to see, you know, what does Expedia like? What do they want to see? And from there, add that into my search as well. I typically start my search with Seek Out. I'm a big Seek Out fan. There's just a lot of different capabilities with it. So just to start off, telling you a little bit about Seek Out and what you can do with it for this role. If you haven't used it and you're looking at this and you're like, okay, where do I start? This button right here will show you all of the different Boolean operators that you can use. So you can look for current titles, current companies. You can even look within specific sections of their LinkedIn. So you're looking at past job descriptions, you're looking at current job descriptions, you're looking at groups they're involved in. So there's a lot of ways to narrow your search with Seek Out. That's one of the reasons why I tend to start there. I'm very particular about my searches. So what I did while Judson was going over the job description is I also created myself a little Boolean sheet and saw what I could get from that. So I wrote a couple different title strings. So just even to pop that in and see what we pull back. So we have 73 candidates. I believe usually it stays just in the US. You can tell up here, this is searching in the US. 73 candidates in the US that are coming back with these titles and specifically not these titles. So I don't want somebody who's a manager, director, vice president, things like that. I'm actually also going to throw in intern because a lot of people will do that. In this case, 2 people, so not that many. But it's always good to err on the cautious side. In terms of what this means, this operates a little bit differently than LinkedIn. If you are a LinkedIn fan, this right here, what this will do is cost conversion. They will put these words within 5 words of one another. So cost 5 words conversion. So as long as these 2 words are within 5 words of one another, that will show up in your search. The star allows you to search, and this should, I believe, still be the same with LinkedIn, but it'll say manager, managing, managed, anything along those lines will come up. So that is how I would start. From there, I would also include any of those keywords in my search. What I really like about Seek Out also from here is you can look at the people insights. So you're looking and you're like, okay, well, that's nice. I can see the couple first people, but I want to see what the data looks like for this. So what type of titles am I getting for this search? And so you can look at all the different titles. This really helps while you're trying to eliminate people to save yourself time. So if you're not looking for somebody who, this actually was a good search. So I don't really see a lot of things I don't want in this search, but say you got someone who was a UI designer and you're like, oh, that's weird. I'm surprised that came up. You could just go back and throw that into your not strings. So not current title UI to eliminate those people that you don't want to see. From there, you can also filter by location. You can filter by how long they've been in their role, how long they've been working, degrees, company size, a bunch of really awesome things. You can also compare this, you can remove anybody from a past project. So minimize candidates I've seen specifically in, like let's say my New York Times project, right? Then anybody that you've saved to that project will no longer show up in this. So you're kind of deduplicating while you're sourcing, which is nice. So there are a lot of insights that you can use here to make your search even stronger than it was originally. From there, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll open up a couple of these candidates and make sure that these would align with what I'm looking for. So if I'm looking at this, I'm like, ooh, man, something's really off. This person does not at all look like what I'm looking for. I know I have to go back and adjust my Boolean. And I apologize, I don't have the fastest internet in the world, but we would take a look at this. I'm seeing managed a team. So this person probably is not a fit. This role does not include management. So I would know then to include maybe not current job description and manage so that I'm avoiding any managers. But we are seeing some things that we are looking for. So this person is managing the people that are looking at these analytics. So that's definitely good. We're liking that. We're seeing these the tech stack that they're looking for. I would want to add in, R and SQL and make sure they're working with that too if I were to run my full search. But just looking at this, I've already seen what I can do to adjust my Boolean. So I would look at a couple different profiles from there, and then I would go ahead and I would select the page and add them to a project. So we're just going to say Dueling Sourcers Team Julia and save that there. I would go ahead and download my project, and then I would upload it into our spreadsheets. So we do things a little differently at Wayne Tech. Instead of looking at each profile and collecting the people we do want to message, we instead write a really, really in-depth search and make sure that we are probably seeing more candidates than we don't want to see. And then from there, we quickly look at each profile and knock out any profiles that we think are no longer a fit. So then we'd use this tag here and decide, why is this person not a fit? Or we would go ahead and rank the person. Yeah, we do want to message them, or maybe we want to message them from there. Once you have those candidates, you can start emailing, but I do want to flip over back to Judson to let him walk through his Google search before we move on.
Sure. Yeah, I noticed that you were using some more advanced Boolean operators in Seek Out. And I think that's really cool because LinkedIn does not play very nicely with things like the tilde or the asterisk, or the operator that used to find things near another word. So it's a cool aspect of seek out. And
yeah, there's definitely some cool benefits looking at seek out and just diversifying your sourcing strategies, which I think is the whole point of this webinar. So just showing you guys different strategies there. Yeah,
I also noticed that you did the people insights, which is also really cool. To look at all the titles. That's something that I do a lot especially when I'm not sure about, if I'm not familiar with the industry and what the titles should be, then I'll just type in the job title that's on the posting and then look at all the like adjacent job titles of people and try to incorporate those. So I didn't see the word incrementality on any of those that you pulled up. So I was curious if we would see anybody with that word in their title.
Yeah, I was actually really curious about that too, because it's I've never heard that in the marketing world. So I was wondering, how many people would actually include that, or if that's specific to Expedia, which it seems might be more specific to Expedia.
You'll definitely find companies like to make up their own job titles here and there. So, yeah, so I would like to show you how I would. So the one, I guess, major strategy for identifying people is to use Boolean, use keywords, and try to search for the people with the right experience, how they, searching for those keywords within their position descriptions and their summaries and things of that nature. But another way that you could search for qualified candidates is through a company-centric search. And of course you can combine keywords with companies, but oftentimes if you know that a person works at a competitor with the same title, then they're probably qualified, even if you can't tell really what they've done, or if they don't tell you what they've done. So I always like to take a company-centric approach to searching as well. And I would imagine that Expedia would want somebody who's worked at a e-commerce site in general, or perhaps even better, like a travel and booking website or company. And so we can search. I will need to share my screen again here. Let's see. Okay. Alrighty. So I can do a search in Google, top e-commerce travel websites. And there's one hit here at the top that I can see is relevant. Top website ranking, similar web. This might be a good website to search for all kinds of different companies. But you can see the list here looks relevant: Booking, Airbnb, TripAdvisor, blah, blah, blah. I think even something like Uber could be relevant to Expedia. There's Expedia, hotels. So what we can do, considering that this is a good list that we want to capture, we want to ultimately turn it into Boolean. That's what I would want to do, and plug it into LinkedIn or some other site like that. So what I'll do is I just attempt to do a dirty old-fashioned copy paste. And so we're going to copy this, and you can tell that they want us to pay to see the full list, but they give us the top 50. So we'll take the top 50. And I'm going to go to Excel and paste. And then you do have to know a little bit about Excel to be able to turn this dirty web data into something useful. So I'm going to go quickly, but first thing is to wrap the text a couple times, and it makes it look a little prettier. And then I noticed that we've got some logos and stuff here. So I would do a function F5. which brings up my go-to special. I'm going to check the box for objects, which covers the pictures in this data. And then I'll click delete, or hit delete on my keyboard. So that gets rid of the logos. And then we probably only care about these company names, right? We don't really care about this other data. So I'm just going to delete that on either side. Now we just have the names, and they're formatted in some form or fashion. So I'm going to highlight that and click the clear button, the pink eraser, and choose clear formats. And then now I can start to put these company names together in using a formula to create Boolean. So what I'm going to do is I noticed that each website has the .com or .something on it. So I can separate that from the actual name of the company or the website. So I'm going to highlight the data, click on data at the top, click on text to columns, and we can use this text to columns feature to separate the .com. So I'll put a period or a dot in the other box there, click finish. And now we've got all the stuff after the dot separated out. We can just delete that, we don't want it. All right, now I'm looking at just the words. So the other thing I noticed about this data is that there's a leading space. You notice that booking has a blank space here in front of it, as well as all the other words. So when we're creating Boolean in Excel, we really don't want any leading or trailing spaces. And so there is a formula which gets rid of that, and it's called trim. So I can do equals trim, capitalize as you do with all formulas, and then just put A2. And, oh, I actually meant to put A1, but, so looks like that actually didn't work. So if trim doesn't work, that means that you've got some non-printable characters, what's Excel refers to as non-printable characters. And that is common when you copy random data from online, some website. You never know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get all kinds of crazy characters and formatting. So we have to get rid of these non-printable characters before we can use the trim function. Or, in fact, there's another longer formula that I just Googled in a few minutes that will get rid of non-printable characters. So if I go back to my browser here, trying to avoid clicking on this zoom bar at the top. Let's see. Yeah, so I just Googled like remove non-printable character, or remove leading spaces from text in Excel, and I just got this site with this formula that works. So I'm going to plug it in here, make sure that there's no crazy formatting from copying that, and then and then that should be it. And look at that, gets rid of the trailing space, leading and trailing spaces. So we copy that all the way down, and then whenever you copy and paste a formula over a range, you need to paste special. So we're going to copy and paste right over the top of the results, and then choose to paste values only. So paste special values only. And now we can get rid of the original data without losing the result of this formula. Now we finally have clean data, and here's where you start the Boolean process. You put a quotation on either side. You drag it down with the fill box thing, the little box on the bottom right of the cell. And then we can combine the quotes with the words using a formula. So equals A1 ampersand B1 ampersand C1. And we've got booking in quotes, and we want to use the quotes because sometimes there's companies with 2 words, and in those cases, we want to capture the full name of the company, and with Boolean, you have to do that with quotes. All right, so now we've got our companies' names in quotes, and now we can incorporate the or part of the Boolean and combine all these together. So what I'm going to do is type equals A1 here, and then I'm going to do equals B1 or B1 ampersand quote space or space quote. So that's going to put an or in between each of the names of the companies. So B1 and quote space or space quote ampersand A2. Booking or Airbnb. And now I can just click and drag this formula all the way down, and we get a crazy pyramid effect. But the bottom line here incorporates all of our companies. So I can copy this, again, paste right over the top and choose to paste special values only. And you can see in the top bar, this is just a long Boolean string full of all the companies. And you may have to edit these because maybe the word is like so common that, you know, it's not specific to that company. Like this word enterprise, there's probably tons of companies with the word enterprise in them, but you can just copy that string of Boolean, and then you would paste it into LinkedIn. And you would want to do a search with a company field, obviously.
Judson, I think the reason you're running into that problem is the search bar for LinkedIn only allows a certain amount of words, characters, I believe, actually. And so once you exceed that, then it just pulls up no results. But if you are on LinkedIn Recruiter, I think you should have a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I just tried that again into the main search bar. Yeah, so there's your Boolean strings with your companies. We just got that for free off this website and turned it into some Boolean. Julia.
Cool. So it is funny because watching you do all of the Boolean building, we ran into the same thing. We were oftentimes building out Boolean strings, and it was just time consuming. And we're like, okay, well, how can we save some time? So we took some time to actually build a tool that on LinkedIn, or not on LinkedIn, sorry, on our Google Sheets to build our Boolean strings for us, which is nice. So I'm going to go ahead and share this in the chat and then show you guys a little bit about how we use it.
I love a well-designed spreadsheet. So
right.
I'd love to see this.
Yeah. So we've got this Boolean builder here, which we use pretty frequently. I'm actually pretty sure I'm the last person who used the or statements. So basically what you do is you would take that list that Judson had pulled from the internet, and you clean it up, and then you would just paste it in here. And then right here, you've got your statement. So you can copy that and paste it without values, and you would see that coming up here. It has infinite ors at the end, up to a certain amount. So if you're seeing a bunch of extra ors, you just go ahead and delete that at the bottom. So that would build your or statement. We've also got it for and, we've got it for around. So there's just a bunch of different strings you can use and build in here. So I threw that in the chat if anybody is interested in using that in the future. Thank you to, I'm giving a shout out to Mike Cohen and Akeo Hill right now because they put a ton of work into this. Thank you guys for that, and let me know if you have any questions on the Boolean Builder. But just to show you a little bit, while Judson was going ahead and showing you how to search by companies, I took my search and I put it into my spreadsheet. So from here, I would take the time, I already did a little bit, but I would take a look and see, are any of these companies maybe just not a fit for what we're looking for? This person's coming out of school. He's most likely in school too. So I would go over and check, does that align? And tag them out. I don't want to waste my time looking at that person. A couple other people where maybe they're consulting. A lot of companies tend to steer clear of consulting as well. And then I would go ahead and do that by title, by maybe if they've been in their job for 10 plus years and they might just be one of those people who's not looking to leave, or, in other circumstances where we don't have COVID going on. If you see they just started the job, being respectful of them and maybe waiting until they've been there for a few months before you try to grab them. So I'd go ahead and tag out from there. And then if I have this list and everything looks good and I want to grab the emails to start messaging them, I would go ahead and open up their profile. And I'm not sure if y'all have heard of Zap before, but it is an extension where you can grab data from a LinkedIn page. So I would go up here to my Zap board and I would zap this person in. So I can go ahead and extract his information from the page. It takes just a few seconds. If you're zapping more than one person at a time, be mindful because LinkedIn will put you in LinkedIn jail if they think you are a bot scraping a bunch of data. So you can actually choose to put around 10 seconds in between scraping for profiles, and that will keep you from going into LinkedIn jail. As you saw, I tend to have a huge list that I'm scraping at once. So this is something I tend to be very mindful of. Something else to be aware of with Zap is the fewer things you have running in the background, the better it works. So if you're pulling a bunch of data at once, be sure to just kind of have your Zap going, maybe go and get a snack or something in the meantime. We actually have some email finding tools that specifically tell you to go and get a snack, which is kind of funny. So I can look at his information here, which is, it's pretty good. And we've got a work email. So Zap pulled a work email, which is really awesome. If you are unsure about personal emails, you can actually generate these personal emails here. And you can go ahead and see if these are valid emails. So you can go ahead and check if these are valid emails. From there, you can pop them into maybe Google or somewhere else to see if you can pull this email associating with this person. So if you write a quick string for Quincy Wong and maybe the business he's working at. So he's actually at Expedia. This is one of the guys I pulled up earlier. So if I typed in Quincy Wong in Expedia with the email and saw maybe if there was somewhere that he had this email online, that's one way to double check his email. Most people are on Gmail now, but there's other email domains that people are still using. So this just kind of gives you all those options. LinkedIn used to have a capability where you could look up in the back end if the email was linked to their LinkedIn, but have since taken that capability away, unfortunately. Even so, there are other email tools that we use pretty heavily. I actually have in my Extensity, which actually, if y'all don't have this, I highly recommend it. Will save your computer a bunch of processing speed time. As I mentioned, my internet is not great, so this helps me a lot. Email finding tools tend to slow your computer down, so I don't have my extensions for my email finding tools open at all times. But I typically use these different email tools that you see highlighted and just take a look at the page and see what I can get. So Swordfish is my personal favorite. And you can actually upload into Swordfish and just wait for that to come back. So that's what I would do from there. And then I would go ahead and look at my spreadsheet and clean up any information because I am going to be sending in an email campaign. I wouldn't want to see somebody send me an email saying, hey, Julia, how is it going at Logic 2020, Inc. period? I would want to see like Logic 2020 or RGG, Domino Printing I would leave, but like Lyrics LLC all in caps kind of is like, okay, like this is clearly an email campaign. I don't want to see that. So I go ahead and put the cleaned up names in here, and same with the candidate names. If you see something where maybe in their LinkedIn URL they go by a nickname, going ahead and cleaning up their names in here. So that's where I would go from there. The other tool that I tend to like, an alternative to seek out if you're an AI fanatic, I love human predictions. So you can go ahead and you can look in here, and we would go Marketing Analysts and see what that pulls up. From there, we can narrow it even further once this slows down or speeds up, sorry. But we can go ahead and Boolean in here, we can also add in specific filters. So this is another really great option if you're sourcing and you're wanting just an alternative tool to take a look at. So even if, if you're looking for somebody who's a software developer, you can look at their GitHub specifically with these filters. And take a look at that. If you don't have an email finding tool, something I would do is use human predictions, and they specifically have a resume filter. So if you don't, if you're not going to be able to find emails, just having the resume will get you those emails for you. So this is my next tool that I would go to, and I would Boolean out. You can also search specific networks, social networks here. So there are just a lot of different tools that you can look at there. But I think we're coming close to the end of time, so I don't want to go into too much detail, and see if Judson has any more points to make.
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to ask you actually on the AI tools thing. Mm-hmm. We all know that there's a lot of options. Do you have a favorite one that you think matches the best as far as like, you're just putting in a job description or a simple search and then you get ranked like, or, automated matches? Do you feel like there's the best one?
Sure. So I really tend to, just because, I think you're this way too, having worked with you, I love writing out my own Boolean. I like to be able to control it a little bit more, but I do think it is important to stay on top of trends and just be mindful and open-minded in that front about new trends. And so taking time to look into AI and see, how those searches come back. So I use human predictions. I also like to run a search or two using Amazing Hiring. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is Amazing Hiring. This is our AI sourcing platform. So if I were looking for product management, I would just go ahead and click that. So right off the bat, it's going to pull product managers in Dallas. To show you what that looks like, you can actually click on product. Oops. You should be able to click on it. Usually you can click on it. If I were to write a keyword string, like if I put product management in here, it should populate an AI list. Certain words do it, certain words don't. But if you pop a keyword into there, you can actually click on it and it'll have a drop down of all the different similar words that it's searching for in that search. So you can see, okay, like, yes, I do want to use the AI functionality for that. Or if you're maybe not wanting to use the AI functionality, then you would be able to X out up here. So, okay, like there are a couple words in there that I don't love, don't want to see in my search. You can X out so that it doesn't use AI to do that. So I do like using Amazing Hiring as well as an alternative. We tried to source using 3 different platforms for each role we're doing, just to show that, different data. Where the best quality candidates coming from, and why, So if we're seeing a pretty steady amount of really great candidates coming in from one source, we are able to use that in the future, and also our clients can see that. So if they want to take that information and get that resource for their own team, then they can use that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about wanting to have as much control as you can, and I definitely think a lot of the AI tools really aren't there yet, but they're getting there, and I don't believe that they'll ever replace you or me, Julia. So.
Yes, I agree. I think that we have a little bit of security there in terms of AI, especially right now. There's something to say about a person who's a really, really stellar sourcer and has done their research and listened into these webinars to learn more. And you'll see higher quality work than you would with an AI bot.
Yeah.
You guys have done an amazing job today. I just want to thank you so much for walking us through how you source for this marketing analyst role. I did not expect for you to open up the Excel spreadsheets and actually show us how you work in those, because I come from a data analyst background, and I was like, I'm like, where my analyst stops is like the pivot tables and the VLOOKUPs and the text to columns, and you guys were doing that and actually showing that in your sourcing tables, and I was like, bravo, because so many times everyone's like, and this is our applicant tracking system or our CRM.
Oh, right.
No one talks about actually using spreadsheets, so thank you. That was super informative.
Yeah, Judson and I both use spreadsheets, I think, for our like quote unquote ATS. It's a little more customizable, which is nice. We're big data nerds at Wayne Tech, so we love the data. All 3 of us love building out different formulas in the spreadsheets and everything. So we're just trying to give as much data visibility as we can. And if anybody has any questions about how we do that, or if you have any questions about anything I went over, you can feel free to reach out to me. I can pop my email in the chat, and I can chat with you one-on-one. So
what is the best way?
Yeah. So best way to get me is usually email. So I'll go ahead and pop that in there. I'm on LinkedIn pretty frequently as well, because I run Wayne Tech's social media marketing. So I'm on LinkedIn a lot to make posts. So I will go.
You're that Mike Cohen?
I'm on LinkedIn a lot, but I'm also on Facebook and on Twitter, a bunch of different platforms, working on marketing there. So you can reach me easiest with my email, and I'll pop that in there, and then probably second easiest on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Judson, what's the best way to reach out to you? Should our viewers have any additional questions?
LinkedIn's great. My email is judson@iqtalentpartners.com.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much for being part of the show today. Julia Adler and Judson Lancina, this has been a fantastic show. For all of you who want to see the replay of this, we'll have it up on our YouTube channel for Tech Recruit. On our YouTube channel, we have a playlist of all of our Dueling Sourcers show, as well as our talent analytics show, which will be launching tomorrow with Todd Davis from IBM, where we're going to be talking about just how companies transform their organizations through change management using data. And then, of course, on Thursdays, you can join our social Q&A for job seekers on the Talent Collective on Facebook, on the Facebook group Talent Collective. And we'll look forward to seeing all of you there. And if you have any additional questions about any of these shows, you can go to techrecruit.io and find all the information there. And we'll look forward to seeing all of you next Tuesday at 9 a.m. And until then, you have a great week. Bye.
All right, thank you.